I want to thank you all for joining me today for today's webinar on searching made easy. So the goal of today's webinar is to show you some tips and tricks with the quick launch bar at the top left of Flex, which we're all familiar with. Go over quite a few, if not all, of the different searching options in the Flex menu. And then back to tips and tricks, we'll be doing a quick search and I'll be showing you maybe, hopefully, something new when it comes to quick searching. Let's just get started. So on the Flex homepage, on the top left, we have what they call the quick launch bar, kind of like a Google search bar. It's supposed to be like a one-stop shop for all the Flex searching that you would need to do. Now, it can't do crazy or too specific things. Like one of the restrictions of the quick launch bar is you can only search one MLS number at a time, for example. However, there are some other fun things that you can do with it. And I think one of them, or at least one that I use pretty frequently, is searching for other agents or just other members in general. So I'll use Sleeper as my example. Shout out to Julie. So if I search Sleeper in the quick launch bar here, one of the sections is members, and it's going to give me all the members with the name Sleeper in it. I imagine that's only last names, but maybe someone's first name is Sleeper. I'm not going to judge. So a really good way to find a member if in your head you know of the agent that you need to get in touch with, cannot for the life of you figure out um, how to find their contact information. Simply look for their name up here, click on their member, and it pops up all of their contact information for you to find. So nice and easy way to do that. Something else that we can do is search for menu items. So let's say we are running a CMA. We don't have it on our favorites bar. And in the menu itself, my eyes are just not working this morning. Let's just say that. So I can actually search CMA up here. And I have the menu item of CMA. So that is going to launch me. I'm going to actually do a new tab so I don't mess up my spot. And that's actually going to launch me into my list of CMAs. So I don't have to go looking for the menu item, and I don't have to have it favorited on my hotbar for me to quickly find the menu item I'm looking for, which is quite nice. Close out of that. Something else that you may have noticed when I searched CMA up here is there's a section called listing collections, CMA comps. So, and we'll come back to listing collections, but so not only are you searching menu items, you can also search for your saved searches, your listing collections, pretty much anything that you're saving, you can find through the quick launch and just quickly get there. So I'll just click new tab. It opens me right up to my listing collection, and here are the listings that were on that list. So really easy way to just get yourself to the page you're looking for. You can do it to contacts as well, just like members. I don't know if I have a contact at the moment. I do. So I looked up Janice, and under contacts, Janice Finch. Totally made up, by the way, but that's okay. It is a contact nonetheless. So really, again, you can search for pretty much anything from this quick launch bar. Some other fun little tips is how to kind of start your searches without needing to enter criteria in the quick search menu. So what I mean by that is I can enter in some of the basic search criteria I'm looking for before I even open the quick search. So let's just say 300K to 500K, 2 beds, 3 baths, and let's do somewhere that's going to have a lot of listings, hopefully. So I chose Portland. So in my list of drop downs, right, it's giving me 3 options. And what it's asking me here in this drop down is which of your quick search templates do you want to search by? So 1-residential, 2-land, 3-multi, 4-commercial, right? Those are the ones that are built into Flex that we should all be familiar with. This 0-water is a custom one that I have made to make it easier to search for waterfront properties. So for today's sake, I'm going to use 1-residential. So I'm looking for residential properties between 300 and 500,000 with 2 beds and 3 baths in Portland. So if I click there, it should be, of course, no listings are found. It should be plugging in that criteria over here on the left side for me, right? So list price between 300, 500, total baths, 3 plus in the town of Portland, bedrooms between 2 and, infinite, essentially. So a really easy way to start your quick search without having to do all of the clicking. Ultimately, it's all about time saving. And for me, it's all about saving clicks. I want to do things with as few clicks as possible. That's always my goal when I'm on the computer. Another way that you can utilize this is to do a radius search, kind of just built right in. Good way to find comps and the likes like that. So one way you can search is by using the word near. And let me just use this address as an example. So when you use the word near, and you could also use an MLS number here too, instead of an address. When you do near, let's just call it the subject, near subject property, what it's asking or what you're telling, excuse me, what you're telling Flex to do is search a 2 mile radius with that property, the subject property as the center point. So I'm just going to click residential again. And it's going to bring me to my list, but we can edit search just so it kind of looks the same as what we'd be familiar with. And now we automatically have a 2 mile radius built around our subject property, meaning that if we plug in just a little bit more criteria, let's just pretend I'm doing comps, right? So maybe a year back is too much. Let's do 90 days to start, so on and so forth to plug it away. And now we have, if let's just pretend I entered in actual criteria, now we have a list of results that we know are within the vicinity for a good comp. So I chose 2 miles. Well, I didn't choose it, but I wrote near, so it's 2 miles. Chances are, depending on where you are doing business, 2 miles may not be enough to actually find comp listings, especially as you get a little further north. So instead of writing near, which is always defaulting to 2 miles, you can actually just write the number of miles you're looking for. So like 5 miles from. So X number of miles from is essentially the logic that we're writing it out as. So 5 miles from the subject, we can click there to get the search started. All right, now we have 24 results. If I go to edit search, so it looks the way we're familiar with, now we have a 5 mile radius and we can start plugging away criteria to narrow down for better comps. So just a really quick and easy way to run comp searches. In the same vein, so running comps is really, Flex gives us a million ways to do it. If we're searching for an address or an MLS number in the quick launch bar, underneath like the current listings, which would, be the 5 most relevant hits for your search, it's always going to ask you if you want to start a new search, but under it should be the comparable search. So let's just click on the most recent listing here. It's going to open us a new tab. And it's going to be building our criteria for us automatically. And this criteria is set in your general preferences if you're interested in changing it. But by default, using that comparable search option in the dropdown gives you a 1/4 mile radius from the subject property, gives you active pending closed listings, and it's going to give you an exact match in beds and baths to try to find you, right, like the best comp possible. And again, you can change this, right? So you can make your default radius larger than a 1/4 mile. You can give yourself, a +1 to bathroom. So instead of 1 to 1, it's looking for 1 to 2. So you can give yourself a little wiggle room to expand your search criteria automatically when doing a search like this. And of course, I mean, it's easy peasy just to come in here, right, after it's done and fudge with the numbers until you're finding what you need to find. So just another easy way to run a comp. Let's reset because now I want to dive into the menu items So when we open up the Flex menu, we have the search header right here, right? So the quick way to find quick search and CMA is here. But we have a few other options, as you can see. So we kind of talked about listing collections, so let's dive in. When you are viewing a list of search results and you select them individually, you'll have an option to save as a listing collection. And it's just a shopping cart of listings. Really good if you're doing a search, knowing that you're going to have to probably rerun some different criteria. If you're not ready to do that just this moment, save these results to a listing collection, come back tomorrow, run your second set of criteria, and then you can add whatever's new to that same listing collection. A good way just to over time add listings to a kind of organized place where you can pull from them, mostly for CMAs and appraisals, is the benefit I find for it. So starting from the top, we can do an MLS number search. So an MLS number search is great because, as I mentioned, there's a restriction on the quick launch bar where you can only search for one MLS number at a time. I actually just helped someone with this today. So if you have, say, 2 or 3 MLS numbers and you're trying to get them together into kind of like one set of results so you can email them off to a client, you can do that here. And I already have some pre-written ones. Let's just do it like this. And then click search. And all 3 of them were real MLS numbers. So then I get all 3 of them here as my set of results. So I can easily email these or print this list and send it to a client who's looking for it. Or for myself, whatever reason you are printing lists of results, this is a good place to do it. If I go back, you may have noticed, as I said, there's a million and one ways to do a radius search. There is the option to do a radius search right from the MLS number search page here. With this, though, you can only use one MLS number because with the radius search, right, it's trying to use your whatever you've entered here for the MLS number as your center point. So if you have more than one MLS number, what is the system supposed to use as a center point for that? So you can only use one MLS number if you're doing a radius search here, but it gives you the option to customize the radius size and which statuses you want to search for. Kind of neat. Just another place to do a radius search to find comps if you happen to be in here anyway. So in the menu, let's go back. Let's skip address search because there's a little bit more to it. I want to show you guys a specific example, but we can do multiple addresses. So in the same vein as the previous page, you can only search for one address in the quick launch bar at a time. So if you know the addresses of the listings that your client is interested in, but you don't have the MLS numbers, here you can enter in these addresses you can enter in multiple addresses, hit search, and it's going to pull up all of the listings relevant to all of the addresses you've entered. And then you can kind of pick and choose which of the listing for each address makes the most sense to use in your list. You have property types you can search by. It selects everything, all statuses, but feel free to pick and choose what you're looking for. You can also do it for just your office listings or your listings specifically too. So good way to kind of isolate your own listings if you want to. So the My Listings and Office Listings page here, I feel like a lot of agents are going to be using this page, which is great. It's a collection of all of your listings specifically, or all of the listings from your office specifically, if you have that level of access. One thing to note, though, is that by default, only a few listing or statuses are actually visible on the My Listings page. I feel like it's only like active, pending, closed, and maybe like withdrawn just for a temporary thing. And then you can set your off-market status and your general preferences. But regardless of that, if you want to make sure you're seeing all of your listings, I mean, why wouldn't you? You actually need to go to the general preferences in the menu, go over to listings. And here, I don't know if I have the default. I may have saved some, and there's no ways to switch it back. But anything switched over to blue those are the statuses you're going to be seeing on the My Listings page. So the one that I probably hear questions about the most is active under contract and coming soon no show. So because I have active under contract, let's use coming soon no show as my example. I, as an agent, this is my preferences. I'm looking on the My Listings page for my new listing because I need to make some changes to it. And I cannot, for the life of me, find it on the My Listings page. And the reason why is simply because, according to these settings, Flex thinks that you don't want your coming soon no show listing to be listed on your My Listings page, which I think is just silly. So I recommend when I'm teaching new agents, come to this page in your general preferences and check them all off, or just, play around with it to make sure you're seeing what you really want to see. Cool. And now let us do the address search as I had skipped over before. So what the address search is really good for, and the tool I use it for the most, or the function I use the most, is to find a complete listings history. And the reason why this is better than just going to the most recent detail report of the address and clicking on the history tab is because the history tab is actually tied together from the tax ID number agents are entering. And we have now, so much so in Flex, kind of been pushing you guys to enter in either the realist tax ID number that's pulled automatically for us, or to enter in like the address of the property with no spaces. You guys are probably very familiar with that. And the reason why we're trying to set like a standard is so that the property's history is all together. Kind of hard to do, but that is the goal of that standardization, in case you guys were curious. So let me show you an example. I am going to search for 6 Mayflower. It's in Biddeford. I think that's all I'm going to have to do. So you don't actually have to fill out every single piece. You really are just plugging in, I recommend, the smallest amount of information possible to find your results. So don't go too overboard unless you have to. So I'm going to hit search. Luckily, this is all I needed to do. So there are 3 listings here, right? 3 listings for 6 Mayflower Drive. So we know for a fact now that 6 Mayflower has been listed 3 times in the MLS. If I were to click here and view the most recent listing, so let's say instead of doing it this way to find it's been listed 3 times, I search for the address in the quick launch bar and I find myself on this page. Actually, let me do that so we don't see them on the side, so it makes a little more sense. Perfect. Okay. So I searched for it. Here it is. If I go up to the history, it's only in there twice. So from my perspective, running the search this way, I only think that this listing or this property has been listed twice in the MLS when it in fact has been listed 3 times. Now, is that super important? I'm not sure, but it is a little fun fact that definitely trips people up, and can be good if you're looking for a complete history or price change information about a property. You would want it all, not just half of it. And that is everything from the search header in the Flex menu. So I know we were doing a little bit of quick searching, but there's a couple more things I want to show you guys. So one, I just want to switch over to the residential property type template here. Not that it really matters, but for today's sake. So something maybe that's new to you guys. Let's choose an off-market status. I already have it selected, actually. So when you are doing an off-market status search, typically, and I believe by default, Flex is going to show you the static date range option, just as we see here. So this is good if you're looking for like the entire year of 2023's data or something like that. But if you want just, say, the last 30 days of sold data from an area, what is actually better to do is click on the black back and forth arrows here. And when you do that, it switches from the static date range to the relative days back search function. So we can put 30 here, for example. And the reason this is better is that if you were to save this search 30 days back like this, and you come back and you run the search again, say next week, you know you are looking at 30 days back from the day you're running the search. Whereas if you were to stick with the static date range and you were looking for a year back, or let's just say 30 days. So let's just do 4 for simplicity's sake. I save this search because I now, next week, I need to come back and run this again for 30 more days so I can see the updated list of closed listings within 30 days. If I've saved it this way, I'll have to come in here and I'm going to have to manually update the static date range to be whatever today's date is back 30 days. Whereas relative date range is doing that auto changing of the date for you. So just a little helpful. Of course, you can delete fields, right? Get rid of them if you're not using them. Clean yourself up a little bit. You can add a field. And kind of the last thing I want to show you is the remarks field here. Uh, Deanne being asked, can the quick search be used to set up and save a listing subscription? Yes, of course. That is probably, I'd imagine, the primary way you're setting up subscriptions. And once I'll kind of finish off the day showing you how to save the search and make it a subscription. Okay, so we're gonna input a new field. So I just searched for remarks. Bada bing, bada boom. I clicked on it. It is now down here. So the example I like to use, and we can close out of this pop-up now. So now I can search within the public remarks field of a listing or of all the listings in the criteria. Something that might be good for this is if you are looking for a property and your buyer's interested in like a horse barn or horse track or horse something relative or related to horses, right? They're out there. You can, of course, just search horse. And now, if I actually select this, now it's going to be looking for all of the listings with the word horse in the remarks field. However, there's probably some more key ways that we can do this. So for example, if we do an asterisk here at the end of the word horse, it's going to be looking for terms that are horse in the first section of the word and then whatever comes after. So if you were looking for just horse and in the remarks field, the listing agent actually put horse barn as one word, they forgot to put the space there. If you were just to search this way, you're not finding it because it's looking for specifically the word horse. So maybe there's a listing in there that they missed the space. You're looking for that connection. You can do the asterisk on the other side if it's going to be, I don't know, barn for horses or something like that. And again, there's no spaces. They forgot to put the space there. Putting the asterisk here is going to find any word that ends in HORSE, horse. It's a good way to find could be spelling mistakes, essentially, or data entry mistakes by using those asterisks. The other fun one we use is the question mark. So horse probably isn't a good example of this because it's a pretty simple word, but maybe something confusing, like moose head or Sebago, maybe someone accidentally did SAB instead of SEB. You can use the question mark in lieu of a letter that you think might be misspelled. So if you're by, I think a body water is the most common one. If you're by some body of water, a lot of agents misspell by a letter or two, just plug in the question marks when you're doing these kind of like word searches. And it's going to find all of the words. And the question mark is just, it's going to plug in any letter that fits there. It's going to find your results for. Okay, enough rambling on because I've made it right to the last minute. I want to thank you all for joining me today for today's webinar on, again, searching made easy. If you have any questions after the webinar ends, please feel free to reach out to us. The phone number is 780-1366. And you can also email us at help@mainlistings.com. Again, I want to thank you guys for joining me. and have a great day.